Byzantine currency, money used in the Eastern Roman Empire after the fall of the West, consisted of mainly two types of coins: the gold solidus and a variety of clearly valued bronze coins. By the end of the empire, the currency was issued only in silver stavrata and minor copper coins, with no gold issue. Iconography. Early Byzantine coins continued the late Roman conventions. On the obverse, the head of the emperor, now full face rather than in profile, and on the reverse, usually a Christian symbol such as the cross, or a victory or an angel. The gold coins of Justinian II departed from these stable conventions by putting a bust of Christ on the obverse, and a full-length portrait of the emperor on the reverse. These innovations incidentally had the effect of leading the Islamic Caliph Abd al-Malik, who had previously copied Byzantine styles but replacing Christian symbols with Islamic equivalents, finally to develop a distinctive Islamic style, with only lettering on both sides. This was then used on nearly all Islamic coinage until the modern period. The type of Justinian II was revived after the end of iconoclasm, and with variations remained the norm until the end of the empire. In the 10th century, so-called anonymous foals were struck instead of the earlier coins depicting the emperor. The anonymous foals featured the bust of Jesus on the obverse and the inscription Christus, Basilu, which translates to Christ, Emperor of Emperors. Byzantine coins followed, and took to the furthest extreme the tendency of precious metal coinage to get thinner and wider as time goes on. Late Byzantine gold coins became thin wafers that could be bent by hand. The Byzantine coinage had a prestige that lasted until near the end of the empire. European rulers, once they again started issuing their own coins, tended to follow a simplified version of Byzantine patterns, with full-face ruler portraits on the obverse. Denominations. The start of what is viewed as Byzantine currency by numismatics began with the monetary reform of Anastasius in 498, who reformed the late Roman Empire coinage system, which consisted of the gold solidus and the bronze nummi. The nummus was an extremely small bronze coin, at about 8 to 10 millimeters, weight of 0.56, making it a 276 to the Roman pound, which was inconvenient because a large number of them were required even for small transactions. New bronze coins, multiples of the nummus, were introduced, such as the 40 nummi, 20 nummi, 10 nummi, and 5 nummi coins. The obverse of these coins featured a highly stylized portrait of the emperor, while the reverse featured the value of the denomination represented, according to the Greek numbering system. Silver coins were rarely produced. The only regularly issued silver coin was the hexagram, first issued by Heraclius in 615, which lasted until the end of the 7th century. Minted in varying fineness with a weight generally between 7.5 and 8.5 grams. It was succeeded by the initially ceremonial Milesian established by Leo III the Isaurian in California. 720, which became standard issue from California. 830 on and until the late 11th century, when it was discontinued after being severely debased. Small transactions were conducted with bronze coinage throughout this period. The gold solidus or nomisma remained a standard of international commerce until the 11th century, when it began to be debased under successive emperors, beginning in the 1030s under the emperor Romanos Argyrus. Until that time, the fineness of the gold remained consistent at about 0.955 to 0.980. The Byzantine monetary system changed during the 7th century when the 40 nummi now significantly smaller, became the only bronze coin to be regularly issued. Although Justinian II attempted a restoration of the phallus size of Justinian I, the phallus continued to slowly decrease in size. In the early 9th century, a 3/4 weight solidus was issued in parallel with a full weight solidus, both preserving the standard of fineness. Under a failed plan to force the market to accept the underweight coins at the value of the full weight coins, the 11/12 weight coin was called a tetateron, and the full weight solidus was called the histomenon. The tetateron was unpopular and was only sporadically reissued during the 10th century. The full weight solidus was struck at 72 to the Roman pound, roughly 4.48 grams in weight. There were also solidi of weight reduced by 1 silic were issued for trade with the Near East. These reduced solidi, with a star both on obverse and reverse, weighed about 4.25 grams. The Byzantine solidi was valued in Western Europe, where it became known as the bezant, a corruption of Byzantium. The term bezant then became the name for the heraldic symbol of a roundel, tincture or i.e. a gold disc. Alexius I reforms. Former money changer Michael IV the Paphlagonian assumed the throne of Byzantium in 1034 and began the slow process of debasing both the tetateron nomisma and the histomenon nomisma. The debasement was gradual at first, but then accelerated rapidly. About 21 carats during the reign of Constantine IX, 18 carats under Constantine X, 16 carats under Romanus IV, 14 carats under Michael VII, 8 carats under Nicephorus III, and 0 to 8 carats during the first 11 years of the reign of Alexius I. Under Alexius I Comnenus, the debased solidi was discontinued and a gold coinage of higher fineness was established, commonly called the hyperpyron at 4.45 grs. The hyperpyron was slightly smaller than the solidus. It was introduced along with the electrum asperintricae, worth a third of a hyperpyron and about 25% gold and 75% silver. The billion asperintricae stamenon valued at 48 to the hyperpyron and with 7% silver wash, and the copper tetateron and nummi worth 18 and 36 to the billion asperintricae. Andronicus II reforms. During Andronicus II's reign he instituted some new coinage based on the hyperpyron. They were the silver milleresiana basilica at 12 to the hyperpyron and the billion politica at 96 per hyperpyron. Along with the copper rosaria, tonesia and follara, the basilican was a copy of the Venetian ducat and circulated since 1304 for 50 years. The hyperpyron remained in regular issue and circulation until the 1350s, remaining in use thereafter only as a money of account. After 1400, Byzantine coinage became insignificant, as Italian money became the predominant circulating coinage. These Sifade coins, known as trichi, were issued in both electrum and billion. The exact reason for such coins is not known, although it is usually theorized that they were shaped for easier stacking. 1367 reform. During this last phase of Byzantine coinage, gold issues were discontinued and a regular silver issue was commenced. The denomination was the stavratin, issued in 1/2, an eighth and a 16th of its value. Also issued were the copper folaro and tornes. Relative values.